Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Movie Mates podcast. I'm Matthew, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hey dude, great to see you. So today, we've got a more of an informal chat in a similar vein to our Life During Lockdown episode, mate. So I'm just going to pass over to Callum to sort of explain what this episode's sort of going to be like and what sort of things we're going to talk about.
Well, basically, we're just going to be breaking down the last few weeks or month or so in film and TV news. We'll be talking about the biggest behind the scenes deals, business signings, and movie news.
Yeah, as Callum said, bit of an informal chat today. So yeah, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on any of the topics down below. And just before we start off this episode, obviously there's a lot going on in the world at the minute, and we just wanted to say we completely stand with all Black people across the world who suffer from racial discrimination, and yeah, rest in peace to Mr. George Floyd as well. It was tragic what happened to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
go ahead, man.
I think, yeah, we just need to take the opportunity to sign petitions, donate where we
Absolutely.
can, and educate ourselves and make sure that education around this history and the history of violence is eventually taught in schools. And
Absolutely.
Matthew, I'll send you the link to a video where if you don't have the means to donate, you can watch this video and the ad revenue goes to the Black Lives Matter,
Oh, that's a great cause. Yeah,
a
and
charity.
in the description down below, what there was like a so in the description down below, I will try my best to link a GoFundMe, and it's for George Floyd's kid. And there's so much money raised for his child, and I'll also link down below, hopefully if I can find a petition to get sort of Black discrimination topics and racism in America taught in like GCSE syllabuses, which is great, like to promote the education of the topic. So I'll try and link those in the description down below, as well as the video that you send as well.
Great.
So yeah, shall we hop right in with our news stories then, buddy?
Sure.
No worries. So what is there any in particular that you wanted to start off with? Any of the big topics?
Well, if you want to start with where your notes begin, I may need some education from you regarding this because I'm not really into the sport.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't heard or who watches Game of Thrones, I don't personally watch Game of Thrones, but there's a character called the Mountain, I believe, and he's played by Hafthor Bjornsson, he's the world's strongest man, and he recently broke the world deadlift record and has confirmed a fight with Eddie Hall, who has also cameoed in Transformers: The Last Night. So that's where I'm sort of plucking at straws here to get this into a movie related.
You know,
TV.
it's an actor who's been in a film. You know,
Yeah, yeah. So no, this is pretty big news because there's a lot of beef there, and between these two guys, and these are big lads. Like these guys are like 400 pounds, so it's gonna be class. And you know, I had saw an episode on the True Geordie podcast where Eddie Hall was interviewed, and I will link that down below. And it's really great interview because you sort of see the personal side of their beef, and it's going to be interesting because obviously Hafthor Bjornsson has a lot of fans from Game of Thrones, and it seems like a lot of the supporters of that show are going to sort of, I mean, they follow everything he does, so it's going to be really interesting to see who wins this as well.
yeah, I know you're a big UFC fan. Is this sort of going to be in that style?
I think it's actually in a similar style to like what KSI and Logan Paul did with the boxing. So I think it's
All right.
going to be done by the same people. But I would love UFC as well. That would have been really fun. But
Do the styles differ greatly?
yeah, so UFC is like I'm not super confident on this, but I think UFC is boxing incorporated with like other martial arts. So it's like everything. So like wrestling, karate, jiu-jitsu, um that sort of stuff. So and incorporating boxing as well. So it is really interesting to see because this is more boxing. So a lot of people think they're going to tire out quickly in the early rounds and stuff. But no, we saw in KSI Logan Paul. Like I thought that was really interesting. Their fight. Did you watch that sort of saga?
I've seen snippets. I've seen enough of the first fight to decide that I think KSI deserved the win.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And now I remember like staying up until like 4 a.m. to watch that second rematch, man. That was good fun. That was good fun. And
Yeah, I'm sure even the fact that it built up to a second match really turned up the beef
oh, it
level.
did. Oh
Like
yeah,
I can definitely
massively.
understand how that would increase interest.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And the fact that this is professional, so it's like no head guards as well. So it's going to be pretty dangerous because these guys are huge guys, really strong guys. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Did you want to move on to our next story then?
Sure, yeah.
And this sort of
So,
yeah, and this sort of relates to like our Pixar slash Disney related animated movies. So I'll let you take this one away, mate.
well, soon we're going to be going through the filmography of the general Walt Disney Pictures Animation Studios, and eventually we will reach the film Hercules. And Matthew has shared that there's news that the film's to be remade in live action, potentially directed by the Russo brothers. And I do not like this idea.
Okay, okay,
Well, obviously Hercules is a character from mythology already, so
sure.
we've already had two films very recently. I think it was either 2016 or 2017, but there were two films released about Hercules, one starring The Rock. So
Okay.
we've definitely seen enough of this character, even if it isn't the Disney adaptation. And I'm just sick of live action adaptations, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And the Hercules car, I've never been like compelled by Hercules, particularly. I haven't actually seen the Disney movie, so it'll be a first time for me. But you never know. I don't think this will get made, but if it is, the Russo brothers that they have a great track record, so it'll be interesting to see. Like, what do you think about? I'm really interested to hear your opinion on the whole live action Disney saga because they've done, The Lion King and I think the Jungle Book we've seen. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Do you think that's cheap? Just to get it's just a cash grab, or do you think it has a place in cinema?
I think probably the best example of a live action adaptation is Maleficent because it chose to do something different. But yeah, pretty much the other ones. Alice in Wonderland's a weird one because it strays quite far from the animated film, so you could argue that it's more just a weird adaptation of the book
Yeah,
rather than, a Disney rehash. But
sure.
yeah, I think, Cinderella and Aladdin and The Lion King, I mean, they're never going to live up to the original. Like, pretty much the goal is to make more money and make a movie that's hopefully just as good. Like,
Yeah,
they've never made the film better by putting it in live action. So I think
yeah,
that kind of shows they're like, money grubbing.
yeah, absolutely, man. And I think some of the movies are generally fantastic, and that I mean the animation on the most recent Lion King is stellar. It's up there with like the Planet of the Apes films for me. But no, I do agree. It is. I think there's Disney should maybe allow more room for more creative ideas and other projects that sort of could be future trilogies and stuff like that, and for future success, because I'm sure there's a lot of great ideas that just haven't been utilized yet. So rather than rehashing the same old movies in live action, but I suppose in other movie news and in other Disney news, Taika Waititi is set to direct a Star Wars movie. Now, this is very exciting for the franchise. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I assume this was due to the success of not only his role on The Mandalorian, but also I believe he was responsible for directing at least one episode, and
Okay.
that series is absolutely stellar.
I haven't seen it
So
yet. Is it really good? We should review it then.
it is really good, and it's only 8 episodes. So I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
it's essentially just two movies. So I mean, we could review that with ease.
yeah.
But it's pretty incredible, and it's probably one of the best additions. It's probably the best Star Wars content since Empire Strikes Back.
Wow, that good.
That,
That's
that
actually
might
very
that
good.
might be bullshit, but
That's
that's just my
interesting,
hot
man.
take.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think this is incredible news.
absolutely. And we've seen his ventures into sort of more sci-fi films before with Thor Ragnarok, and it's fantastic. And I think he could provide a really great comedic element that sort of provides a new slate for the franchise. I don't know where they're going to go with it with the movies in particular. Like, is the Mandalorian set in the current timeline, or is it a prequel?
It's set after the Battle of Yavin, so uh, it's set after Episode 6. but before episode 7.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think this has a lot of promise, man. Like, where would you like to see them take the franchise after the Rise of Skywalker?
Well, I mean, he could pretty much do anything and it'd be better. I mean, like, I don't think we've actually given the sequel trilogy that much shit, but I mean, it is completely lifeless, and I think adding a comedy director is definitely putting it in a good direction.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Um, well, another news story I guess we have is Extraction 2 is in development now. This is sort of a Netflixy section of the video where, and I actually haven't seen Extraction, but from what I hear, it's done really well. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this, but also like Netflix movies taking over Hollywood in some instances. You know, we've seen more and more Netflix movies get awarded Oscars and well, certainly be nominated at least. So I'm really interested to hear your opinion on that, mate.
Well, you know, the news of Extraction 2 isn't exactly thrilling for me, but I suppose that's just because I haven't seen the first one. It looks quite interesting.
It does,
Mm.
yeah.
It looks quite interesting, and I do hope to watch it soon. Because you know, I love Chris Hemsworth, and it's noted as one of his better performances.
Mm-hmm.
And to speak to the Netflix takeover of Hollywood, as you say, I mean, I think that it's a good thing because I mean, you know, films, you know, are put out there, they're made, and then they're bought by a studio. Often Netflix just buys already made films and calls them quote unquote Netflix original
Sure.
films.
Yeah.
You know, they're rarely actually made by Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like any other film under any other studio. So I don't really see any issue. People are sort of complaining about them like storming the Oscars, and they're not real films because they weren't released theatrically. Well, actually, to be eligible for an Oscar, you do have to release theatrically. That's why The Irishman was in a limited theatrical release. But yeah, I see no issue with it. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's completely the same, mate, to be honest. And I think it really I think it makes it clear that there is sort of a new breed of filmmaking coming in, and as for me, like you said, it's a good film that matters to me, not necessarily how it's made or what studio's behind it or whether it's theatrically released. There's a lot of Netflix originals I personally love, and especially TV shows as well. So all the part of Netflix as well, because I think it's a really great platform, and I think it's here to stay for a number of years. But it is going to be interesting to see how Disney Plus affects it, because I have seen myself, and I don't know about you, sort of maybe going on the Disney Plus bandwagon and siding with that more than that. I find myself watching more Disney Plus than Netflix now. What about you?
I mean, I feel like it's hard to judge right now because Disney Plus has almost no exclusive content. It's
Sure.
pretty much the only ones I can think of are, you know, there's a couple of kids shows, and then they made Lady and the Tramp, and then there's The Mandalorian. So I think until the Marvel series come out, we can't really
Absolutely.
judge which is the superior one. But I think that Disney Plus is more user friendly, and to be fair, I do enjoy the Disney Plus platform more than Netflix.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I would definitely recommend for anyone who's listening to definitely go over there and subscribe to Disney Plus. It is quite it's went a bit under the radar, I think. And as you said perfectly, man, when they get those Marvel properties, it's gonna be so exciting. Like, what one are you most looking forward to? I know we might have mentioned this in the Life During Lockdown episode, but I'm really interested to hear what one has caught your interest.
For the Disney Plus series,
Yeah,
WandaVision's got to be number one.
that's a good
Just
shout, man. That's a good shout.
I love Elizabeth Olsen, I love Paul Bettany, and it looks fantastic. How
Yeah,
about you?
yeah. WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier for me, they look the best too. But that being said, it's going to be interesting to see where they go. Like, I think if a potential, well, I know we mentioned the She-Hulk series. If that gets in Disney Plus, that'd be cool. Or Moon Knight or something like that. Or is Blade going to be a movie or TV show?
It was just announced as a project, so it hasn't actually been given a designation.
Well, that sounds promising as well. If that makes its way to Disney Plus, with Mahershala Ali, that sounds class. And I don't know. I just think Disney Plus has so much potential there to improve as well, as you said, with new projects. So it's going to be interesting what's in store for the future.
Yeah, fully agree.
Well, listen, man, did you want to hop right into our next news story, which is a potential Ghost Rider project, is said to be in development for the MCU.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this, and I'll tell you why.
Go for it, man.
In season 4 of Agents of Shield is probably one of the best seasons of television ever made, and it stars Robbie Reyes, the second Ghost Rider, I believe, as one of the supporting characters,
Sure.
and he's incredible. Like he is one of the best parts of that series, and that season of television is it's near perfect, and they've fucked up so bad since then because they rode on that high, and I loved it so much. And then seasons 5, 6, and now 7 are all dealing with time travel and space and aliens and robots, and it's not interesting on any level. It sucks.
Do you
and
prefer the more grounded storylines?
Well, I mean, even season 4 had, you know, like a demon, you know, car driver and robots and like AI and virtual reality. Like, you know, it still was dumb and didn't make sense, but I loved it. And now it's just incredibly dull. So if they're not using him, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like, do you think they'd go for Johnny Blaze again?
I think they'd have to, because I mean there aren't many other choices to pull from. I suppose that they could do a female Ghost Rider and, you know, sort of add representation through a character that I don't think a huge amount of people would have an issue with that, because I don't think Ghost Rider is considered as precious a character. So I think that's a character open to a gender change.
Absolutely, man. And there's been so many iterations of the Ghost Rider, and it's not like it would be interesting, man, as well. And like you said, and one thing I am interested in, you know, I have deep nostalgia for the Nick Cage Ghost Rider films. I think they're
of course
a masterpiece of filmmaking, and I cannot wait to discuss them with you one day. But it's gonna be interesting because I'm not sure whether the character would fit in with the MCU movies as well as he or she does with the TV shows. Like from the Agents of Shield season 4 was like the only season I'd really watched, and I never actually finished it. But from what I saw, Robbie Reyes, is it Gabriel Luna? Yeah, he was fantastic. He's such a great actor, man, and he was great in that. And even the effects looked great for TV show as well, man.
Oh yeah, incredible. But it unfortunately led to Coulson's death, so I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I know, man. And one thing I suppose we could move on to is Agents of Shield, and it says, and I didn't know this, and it says I had read a story about Agents of Shield referring to the MCU in some instance. Would that be the snap, or what is it going to do with that, do you think?
I'm really not happy with them. So season 5, the back half of season 5 revolves around the fact that Daisy, the main character, Quake, is they've traveled into the future and come back. So they've come back from a future where the world was like shattered in half by like a gravitational incident that sort of ripped the world apart. And originally it's suspected to be Daisy, but it turns out that it's actually Glenn Talbot, who is Graviton. So in the back half of the series, he amasses these powers, and he plans to use them to destroy Thanos before he can do the snap. So he gets these powers, but he's killed because they know that if he tries to stop Thanos with his powers, he'll destroy the Earth. So instead of the Earth being destroyed, the snap happened, which killed half of humanity. But then the season 5 finale is meant to take place like minutes before Thanos arrives on Earth, or it's minutes before the snap, maybe. And then the beginning of season 6 flashes 1 year later, and they just completely ignore it. So now Agents of Shield is completely out of continuity.
That's annoying, man. I really hate that. That sucks.
Yeah, because currently in season 7 they've moved into the past, and they're now in the 1930s. So I guess it doesn't matter what year it is in the present, but the present for them is still going to be like 2020 or 2021, which is still during you know, the post snap event and pre the blip.
Yeah. Well, man, that sucks because it sort of seemed for a minute there Agents of Shield was really getting back on track, and it was really great. And the whole plot about like Graviton and stuff trying to stop Thanos. Like that seems maybe
Oh,
like
it's absolute ass.
see that's it. It seems more of a plot for like a movie rather than a TV show that pays very little attention to the movies.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Like, is this the
Season
final
5 is
season?
garbage. Season 7 is the final season, and I'm kind of glad. I hope they kind of just do like an Arrow season 8 and just pack so many callbacks into it, because I've been a huge fan since the start. So I
Yeah.
really hope they just do constant fan service.
Yeah. Would you be? Will you be sad to see it go? Because it seems like it's been on our screens for ages now.
Yeah, but Coulson's my favorite character, and they've brought him back as an LMD, and it's just not the same. So the character that I would have missed most is him, and
Yeah.
now that he's already dead, I've kind of lost some of my sentimental feelings towards it.
That's a pity, man. Because I would have loved to see Agent Coulson in Avengers Endgame. To be honest, I think that they really missed the boat there.
Yeah, and Quake actually is powerful. You know, she's powerful than some of the sort of low rate Avengers.
Mhm.
So, I think she would have been an asset in the final battle.
Yeah, man. And I suppose speaking of superhero TV shows, there's been pretty big news in the Batwoman universe, and it's the devastating news that Ruby Rose has left the show. And we mentioned this off the podcast, but I think we could mention it now as well, just to get more in depth about it. Like, what are your thoughts for the viewers? What do you think about this?
Well, just to provide a little context, it was
Sure.
reported a few weeks ago through Deadline and the Hollywood Reporter and other trades that Ruby Rose was exiting before season 2, and there wasn't an exact reason given, but people have speculated that it was because of the long working hours and sort of the online social media abuse that she got
Sure.
for playing
Yeah.
the character. So regardless, she's left the character, and it was initially reported that they were going to be that the phrase they used was recasting Batwoman, I think. So people took that to mean that they were recasting Kate Kane, and people were sort of presenting options for a new recast of Kate Kane. But it now transpires that they're actually just recasting Batwoman, and it's now going to be a new character
Okay.
that's currently named Ryan Wilder, and people are sort of reporting that as though that is actually the character's name. They're like, "Oh, a brand new character, Ryan Wilder,
Yeah.
is being introduced." But casting calls never use the actual name of the character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when Charlie Cox was auditioning for Daredevil, the character's name was Bill Everett. You know,
Yeah.
it's never actually the name of the character. So people are kind of like, "Oh, who is this mysterious new
Yeah.
character?"
Yeah.
But like, I would imagine it's almost definitely a member of the Bat family, or sort of
Sure.
a more secondary character in the Batman comics or in the Batwoman comics.
Sure.
Uh, and the character currently is Ryan Wilder, who's like a fun-spirited drug runner, which I think is it's kind of oxymoronic.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it seems that she's probably going to be slightly on the other side of the law come the very start of the series, and then she's going to turn around and take up the Batwoman mantle.
That's really interesting, man, because we haven't really seen this with a big character in the CW. Never mind, like a show headlining star like Ruby Rose. So it's gonna be really interesting to see where they go with it, because I never watched Batwoman, but from what I've seen of her in the crossover and stuff like that, she was excellent. And I really loved her character and her performance. What are your thoughts?
Well, they've definitely made the right decision of not recasting Kate Kane,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
I think that would have left a real stain on the show. You know, I think I would never be able to wrap my mind around it, especially
Mhm.
because two of the other main characters are her dad and her twin sister. And if you just put in another actress and be like, "Hey, sis," I would have been like,
Yeah.
"Fuck
It
off."
wouldn't sit well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it would not sit well, quite honestly.
Yeah, man. It's funny you mention that, because I don't know, but do you think Batwoman has the longevity that the other shows have? Arrow, what is it on, like season? Well, it finished in season 8, didn't it?
It finished on season 8. Flash is probably going to go to, I'd say, 9 or 10 seasons.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I don't think it has the longevity. I think there's a more definitive end for this character, and I think they could probably wrap it up after 2 seasons, honestly. But it would have been 2 seasons of Kate Kane.
Yeah.
I think her story would have concluded quite well after 2 seasons. But
Sure.
now I guess if Ryan Wilder is the new fan favorite character in the Arrowverse, there's certainly potential for longevity.
That's a great point, man. It's really interesting because I think there's a lot of potential in the CW TV show universe, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Now, speaking of female superheroes, there's been a new Marvel project announced with Jackpot, which is a movie confirmed to be in development, and the characters, for those who don't know, I think I'm not huge. I don't have huge trivia knowledge on this, but I think she's like a side Spider-Man character.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. Like,
So,
literally no clue.
So, from what I heard, Sony have confirmed that there's a movie, Jackpot movie, and I think she's like a side character in the Spider-Man comics. And I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts about like Sony, and we've heard stories about like, is it Silver Sable as well, and they're gonna make a movie. So,
Yeah.
like, what do you think Sony should stop sort of making these sort of side character movies? I mean, we've seen with Morbius as well. That's somewhat of a more popular character, but where do you think the Sony movie should go in terms of Spider-Man? Because I'd love to see it into the Spider-Verse pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, I think that these Sony Spider-Man films without Spider-Man are a stupid idea, but I think that if you interconnected them with the MCU and they matched the quality of other Marvel movies, I have absolutely no issue with it. You know, I enjoyed Venom for the sort of dumb fun ride that it was.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of Morbius, like it looks like exactly my kind of film. Like, I think I would have really enjoyed it, and I'm still looking forward to seeing it.
Absolutely,
Uh,
man.
yeah, I don't know how I feel about them picking like the most obscure Spider-Man characters to follow through with a film for. You know, I just don't know if they have the sort of the popularity to actually carry a film.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
That's a great point, man. It's box office is the key, isn't it, for these films, whether they get sequels and stuff. And I'm not sure if Jackpot can sort of bring the big bucks, as it were. You know, Venom did very well, but I suppose that's because of the character was really well known, and obviously Tom Hardy is excellent in everything that he's in, and all the movies that he is in generally perform well. So it's gonna be interesting, man, because I would love if they just rolled out these Into the Spider-Verse films for as long as they can until people get bored of them, because the first one was just marvelous, and it's one of my favorites for sure, man. And where would you like to see them go with those characters? Do you think there's room for potential spin-offs there with Peter B. Parker, or what would you like to see?
Yeah, it is difficult with animation just because you know each film takes up to 3 to 4 years, so you can't just be pumping out like. I mean, if you did the project simultaneously, you could release, you know, one every year or 2 years.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know that would mean that like someone's main job is just to make Spider-Man films, which I don't know. There might not be a huge interest in that. People might want to diversify
Yeah.
their
Absolutely.
filmography. But yeah, there's currently a all female team up in development for Into the Spider-Verse,
Oh,
and there's a
okay.
couple of mini web series like involving Spider-Ham and stuff that are currently in development. And you know, I'm all for any project related to that universe just because it's so amazing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, and they nailed it with that first movie. And there's so much they can explore with that as well. And that's the advantage, I suppose, of having like a multiverse based movie. You know, there's so many different plot lines there and storylines, which is it's really interesting to see, man.
Can you hear all the cars going by in my house?
I cannot know.
No, good, okay.
Listen, man. I suppose not maybe now is a good time to move on to potentially our biggest news story of the day.
I think I know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Henry Cavill back as Soups.
I thought you were gonna go J.K. Simmons just because you're clearly in love with him.
You know me, man. Love J.K. Simmons, but well, we can go for J.K. Simmons as well if you want.
Let's start with Henry Cavill.
Let's go with this. So, but do you want to shed some light on this? Because I don't know the full story. I just saw a headline and thought it was interesting. So go ahead, man.
So, of course, we haven't actually seen Henry Cavill as Superman since 2017's Justice League. The character of Superman was seen briefly in Shazam, but it was played by a body double. So, Henry Cavill has actually had no involvement with Superman since 2017. And sort of with the renewed popularity of the the character and the renewed discussion of the universe with Zack Snyder's Justice League being announced, talks were able to occur between Henry Cavill and DC. Apparently, from things I've heard on the internet, Henry Cavill apparently is not great to work with, and he's
Okay.
apparently quite aggressive in contract negotiations. But apparently this time it paid off because he's apparently accepted sort of a couple smaller roles in Shazam 2 and potentially Black Adam.
Ooh.
So currently there is no Man of Steel 2 in development. There's no solo Superman, but Henry Cavill is apparently back as Superman, but in smaller doses.
I'd love that, man. I always thought like just have him in a few smaller projects, and that would be so much fun. And it's great. I actually really like him as the Man of Steel because I think he brings everything to that character, especially like the performance as well. He's fantastic, and it seems maybe like the popularity of the Witcher show has really boosted his career.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that before even like Mission Impossible 6, he wasn't considered like, you know, A-list talent.
Yeah,
He was sort of just the guy who plays Superman. But the fact that he's been able to make a career beyond that is not only impressive, but it's definitely useful to contract negotiations.
absolutely. And I suppose with the release of the Snyder cut, a lot of people have been asking for like the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because apparently it does exist.
I would be 100% for it, but if it's being released, it has to be released before Justice League, because, well, it's very unclear. Like, David Ayer has been very murky with the details because he has said in his original vision, the Enchantress was under the control of a mother box, and the final battle was her bringing Steppenwolf to Earth. And Steppenwolf was actually the villain of Suicide Squad and not Justice League.
Okay.
And then Darkseid was the main villain of Justice League, following on from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But it's very unclear as to whether any of that was filmed. So if David Ayer was to release his cut, depending on what he was actually able to film, it might just be like a marginally better version of the film we saw, or it could be drastically different
Sure.
if those plots are actually present. But apparently, the David Ayer's cut of the film was screened for audiences, and no details of Apocalypse or Mother Boxes was ever leaked. So people are dubious as to the fact that he's saying that was his original vision, because that may have just been present in the first script.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. I think it's really important that the movie isn't too both the Snyder cut and if the Ayer cut ever gets released, like they're not too similar to the originals because like people I suppose got to pay money to watch these as well, and I would definitely support the release of an Ayer cut because I think Suicide Squad does have potential. I can't remember what we gave Justice League and
I
Suicide
have no
Squad
idea.
because that was our second episode, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That was
we probably need to do some recalls of our reviews
How did we do like 22 MCU films in an hour and 40 minutes?
badly.
It was the first episode, though, at least.
Yeah,
We were
because I
young.
mean now that would be like a 7-part episode.
Yeah. But listen, no, yeah, like, it's going to be interesting, man, because as I said, I think, did we both enjoy Birds of Prey? Did you enjoy it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun.
So it's going
Uh,
to be interesting.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, if they do release David Ayer's cut, I think that it will be an improvement on Suicide Squad because at least we'll see Jared Leto's Joker performance, and
Yeah.
that there's going to be no like weird neon lighting in the sort of scene cuts and the flashbacks. David Ayer said. I mean, David Ayer is probably putting a lot more value in his cut than there probably is. He sort of said my cut is as though like the cut that was released theatrically is as though like what would happen if they said that Joker by Todd Phillips was too dark. So he's pretty much saying that his is the same quality as Joker, and I don't know
Yeah.
how likely that is.
Yeah. Well, and in sort of relation to the DCEU, this came out yesterday, and I've just included this here, and I saw that Man of Steel was in Mr. Sunday Movies' Caravan of Garbage. Now, I will link that episode in the description down below. And I don't know, I know he's done some good films in Caravan of Garbage, like the Raimi films, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it belongs in Caravan of Garbage. Man of Steel has a good place in my heart. What do you think?
Did you watch the video?
I haven't watched the video yet, but I'm gonna watch it after this. What were they positive about it?
Yeah, it was a positive consensus overall. Pretty much their only criticisms were mainly the depiction of Jonathan Kent, which is perfectly fair because he's just like, no, son, don't save me. I've got to save the dog.
Yeah.
Uh, don't run into the tornado after me, son. I'll just die. It's fine. So it is kind of a bad representation, especially when you compare it to the performance in the Christopher Reeve 1978 film, because that dad, that Jonathan Kent is all about, you can't play football because that's not what you are. You're here to serve a higher purpose. And then Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel is just like, fucking hide, like
Yeah.
don't let anybody know. It's a very bad life lesson. To not use your very useful skills to help people. So yeah, they often review good films in Caravan of Garbage. It's just that they're sort of talking out, uh, Zack Snyder's overall vision for the DCEU, which we might even do. We might review Man of Steel and Batman v Superman in the context of like what Zack Snyder wanted for the universe, and then
Sure.
do Zack Snyder's Justice League, because
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting, seeing sort of the pivot where one movie changed the entire direction of
Absolutely,
the
man. That's a great
universe.
way of putting it. Yeah, because I think Zack Snyder has a lot of potential for his work as well, and as you said perfectly, man, that pivot is really integral to the whole universe and where it's sort of went from there. Because since I would argue like since Justice League, the universe has become a lot more comedic and more MCU like.
Yeah, but not in a good way. Like it's made sort of a really weird attempt to be like they think being like fun and quirky is just adding like neon lights and making everything bright. But like none of the films are funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I actually really enjoyed Aquaman, but that's probably where the humor falls flat the most for me. I think maybe it's just Jason Momoa's delivery.
And the CGI is absolute trash.
But yeah, like I suppose we've mentioned Henry Cavill back. Did you want to mention the main man, J.K. Simmons?
Oh yes.
Let's do
So
this.
we haven't seen J.K. Simmons since Spider-Man 3, and then he popped up as a big surprise at the very end of Spider-Man Far From Home.
What a
Uh,
guy.
sporting a little bit of a different look that I wasn't a huge fan of. I like sort of the
The
weird. I
classic
have no
hair.
idea how to describe that hair, but
Yeah.
the sort of like weird pointy flat top. Like I love that look, and it was just sort of disappointed to see. Like in that scene, I didn't see J. Jonah Jameson. I just saw J.K. Simmons, which
Yeah, fair
I,
enough.
I don't know. I didn't love that. So I hope they maybe reevaluate how to style him in the next film. I mean, it would be funny if they said that he's just wearing a toupee because he's embarrassed he's bald. I think that's a good way to go. But yes, he has inked a new deal to star in further Spider-Man films. He has said it's a one-sided deal, so he is contractually obliged to to appear in the films if they want him, but they're under no obligation to have him in the films. So if they have no place for him in the story, he's not going to be in them.
That's interesting. I would love to see him in as many films as I can because I think his appearance in Far From Home might be the most shocking and happy I've been in a cinema in a long time.
I'm desperate to know whether Sam Raimi plans on replicating that success by having some of his characters appear.
Oh man, I would love that. Like that'd be so much fun. Like I think I just think by embracing the Raimi films as a culture more than anything is really important because they sort of shaped the landscape for the MCU. So it's great to see them acknowledging that. And like J.K. Simmons is just born for that role, isn't he? They're just exactly the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think other than Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, which I don't even agree with, there is no other actor so synonymous with a character, and
Absolutely.
J.K. Simmons cannot be matched. So I'm glad that they've never even tried to cast a different person.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You couldn't cast anyone better, I don't think. He's just so perfect for that.
Like they could have cast it differently, and maybe like obviously we've seen a lot in the new Spider-Man films that they've changed the race and ethnicity of many characters
Sure.
in order to portray a more accurate depiction of queens in the modern day.
Sure.
So maybe if we had seen a person of color play J. Jonah Jameson, that would have been a step in the right direction towards diversity.
Absolutely.
Uh, So that would have also been interesting to see.
Was Terry Crews rumored for the role?
Terry Crews is someone that was highly sought after for the role. A lot of fans had fan casted him, but I don't believe there were any official talks regarding that.
Fair, fair. Well, listen, did you want to mention in terms of Fox Marvel movie news, the New Mutants release date, and it has been surprising that it is August this year.
Yeah, it's been pushed back to August of this year, which I can tell you is not happening. You know
Yeah,
that's less than 3 months from now. But is it that's 2 months from now?
2 months.
It's
Do
not happening.
you think it
It's
should just
not
go for the
happening.
DVD release?
Apparently, there's a contractual deal that it has to be released theatrically and it can never appear on Disney Plus. I guess that was one of the stipulations in the merger contract. So it has to be released in theaters, but it's not coming out in August. Like this film is absolutely cursed.
Yeah, man. And I remember the trailer for that. It was like, what was it, over a year ago at least, and it was
It
good.
was it
And
was it was Friday the 13th of 2017, I think,
wow, like that is crazy.
or
And
2018, but whichever was fine.
like,
I think it was 2018.
is there any part of you that's hyped for this film? Because it's got a good cast, that being said.
Yeah, I sort of like when a comic book movie takes a different take, and obviously this acts as more of a horror film, and
Sure.
it kind of looks in the vein of maybe Hellboy. You know, it seems that kind of vibe. And there's been stills released of the final battle with Magic facing Demon Bear, and it looks amazing. And
Yeah,
I mean it looks absolutely out of place with sort of the Asylum movie that's being
yeah,
built throughout the rest of the film. But Josh Boone has said, the director of the film has said, this is his film. He has
that's
no
great.
issues with the film, so uh, at least we'll get to see his vision on screen.
So it seems like there's been less studio interference on Fox's part.
Yeah, because I assume there were calls for reshoots, but the reshoots never occurred. So I guess everything that he wanted to film, he got filmed, and there was no option for studio interference because I guess I think that the schedules of the actors didn't line up, and then there was the coronavirus pandemic,
Yeah,
so there was no chance to reshoot scenes. So I guess it's just his unadulterated vision.
that's great news for the film because I think it does have potential, man, for sure. And I can't wait to see sort of where they go because, as you said, it's sort of a horror film of sorts, which is new for the genre. So it is good to see this film try something new.
Yeah, but every film has reshoots, so if they weren't able to film any reshoots, it's probably not good.
Yeah,
But
that's all right, I suppose.
if it was just that they were planning on reshooting to change the tone or to change the story, that's one thing. But if it was just reshoots to improve the film, I hope that they at least did those ones.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, man, definitely. I suppose in terms of there's been a few movie sequel news that has dropped recently, and both of them, but both of them sort of recently. I guess the first one we could talk about is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has been greenlighted by I can't remember what studio it's from, but it's been confirmed to be in development, and we reviewed the first one on the channel, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm sort of happy to see that.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the first film aside from Jim Carrey,
Yeah,
and I think that his performance might improve in the second film. And I'm sort of even though I don't know much about the Sonic video game lore, I'm interested to see more of that introduced. With there was the like orange fox
yeah,
character at the end. I
yeah.
don't know
I
the
can't
character's
remember what
name,
name.
but I'm looking forward to seeing developments and additions from the video games.
Absolutely, man. And I think the first film sort of took us. It didn't blow us away, but it sort of did surprise us a little bit because I didn't know what to expect from it. And I always remember the story of the cinema incident that day. That was so funny.
It wasn't that funny. I mean, we were just like 10 minutes late, which is
Yeah.
the first time that's happened to me in like 10 years. And I was devastated, not gonna lie.
Yeah, but no, I'm happy to see this get like greenlit for a sequel because it seemed like it did well at the box office, and it's always good to see like smaller projects like that sort of come to the foreground. But uh, What story did you want to move on to next, man? Is there any in particular?
I'm not picky.
Did you want to mention Afterlife season 3 confirmed?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on this? Because it seems like this might be the final season.
I'm glad that it's being renewed. I think it needed a season three. I think either the series should have ended on season one, or it needs a season three, because I don't think season two provided the ending that I wanted. If that had been it, I don't think I would have been satisfied. So
Sure.
I'm really glad that they're pursuing a third season. I don't really know where they're going to take it, because it spins you in circles, that show. It never really does
It
what you
does.
expect. And it's about life, especially life after death is incredibly unpredictable. So I'm really intrigued to see a season three.
Absolutely, man, absolutely, and couldn't agree more. I think you put it really perfectly there. Like it does take in so many different twists and turns, and I think Ricky Gervais, that's just a testament to the quality of his writing and his acting for the most part. And I don't know where they're gonna take the character of Tony. Tony, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As it's gonna be interesting to see, man. And like it's I guess it's not that very often that a Ricky Gervais show gets renewed for a third season. I think Derek and The Office were both 2 seasons, right?
I know The Office was two. I don't know much about Derek, and Extras was two, and a Christmas special, I believe.
Interesting, man. Well, listen, that's promising, and that's another Netflix original there that's done really well, and I'm really happy for Ricky Gervais because that show really surprised me. I just saw it on Netflix one day and put it on, and I think it's maybe because the episodes are so short that you can just work through it really quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's really accessible to anyone, because it
Absolutely.
deals with themes that affect everyone.
Completely, man. It's a really deep show, but also has like great layers of humor in there. We'll definitely review season 3 when it comes out, man, for sure, won't we?
Yeah, definitely.
In other TV news, I suppose, Gavin and Stacey actor Larry Lamb insisted and all but confirmed that there'll be more Gavin and Stacey after the controversial Christmas special. Thank God.
Was it controversial?
See, I saw a lot of controversy about it that it just sort of it was really rushed, and people would like to see sort of an ending or a definitive ending in another season.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I felt that it felt like the first episode of a new season. It didn't feel like the end of a show.
Yeah,
So I think it would be a mistake to end it there, because
good point.
I want to know what happens next. I do.
Yeah, I know. I can't actually. It's gonna sound bad. I can't actually remember how it ended. I haven't rewatched it since Christmas.
Well, the final scene was Nessa proposes to Smithy,
That's it.
so
And
there was
yeah,
there was no resolution as to how he answers.
yeah, and I think that show just builds characters so well. It's another like really, it's a staple of British TV, I think, and I can't wait to see where they go for another season because um sort of I guess the Christmas special sort of came out of nowhere because there hadn't been a number of series for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather that they had left it with the original ending than they dredged the characters up only to give us a disappointing ending. If that Christmas
Yeah,
special is the definitive ending and there's no future, I'll be incredibly disappointed, because then why did they do it when they had quite a definitive ending with the end of season three?
yeah,
Because you know, in my mind, after season three, I had pictured, oh, Nessa and Smithy do eventually get together.
sure.
That was in my mind the future sequence of events. So the fact that they made a Christmas special to tell me that wasn't true, and then to disappoint me by not giving me that relationship, I will be
Yeah,
furious.
yeah. And another sort of another similar uh vein to that news story, there's been another TV show that is I think's been renewed. I don't personally watch it. I know you do. And Lucifer actor Tom Ellis has said he has signed up for season 6 of the show. Is that right?
I didn't hear about this, but there have currently been four seasons of the show, and season five was very clearly intended to be the final season of the show. There hasn't actually been a firm release date given because of the coronavirus. They were only able to film, I believe, 50% of the show. So season 5 will be split into 2 parts. But apparently, I have heard teases that that's not going to be the end, and I'd heard rumors that there were contractual negotiations, but I didn't hear anything official from Tom Ellis. So that must have just passed me by.
You love that show, right? Like, have you been watching that for a long time?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I've been watching it for years. Not since the very beginning, but I've obviously seen every episode. And season 3 is one of the best seasons of television. Once again, because it also co-stars Tom Welling from Smallville,
Oh, really?
and
Wow, cool.
he plays a character from biblical lore. Uh, I'll not
Awesome.
say anything. I'll not say anything further because that character is a really good surprise.
It sounds like a really promising show. Is it another CW show?
No, it's actually from Fox, and
Cool.
it's currently on Amazon Prime if anyone's interested in watching it because it is one of the best shows on television. Obviously, there are issues of Christian viewers of television have a issue with it over uh, you know blasphemy and issues to do with glorifying the devil. But if you watch the series, I think you'll understand because it sort of portrays people have an issue with a sympathetic portrayal of the devil, but even in the Bible, it's clear that he was an angel and he was just given the job of running hell. So that doesn't just because he's punishing evil people doesn't make him inherently evil. That's basically the concept of the show.
Yeah, that's a really great concept actually, and the sort of the fact that is, did Tom Ellis as Lucifer sort of have a cameo in the latest crossover as well?
Yeah, he appeared on Crisis on Infinite Earths. His Earth was Earth 666.
Ah,
A good reference.
indeed.
Uh, so yes, him and John Constantine clearly have some sort of past where Constantine helped him bring his friend Maze either back to life or from hell. It was unclear as to whether as to what he had helped him with exactly, but it was clear that those two characters had a past. So that meant that either this was just another Earth where Tom Ellis is the embodiment of the devil, or that is the Earth where these events take place, which would mean that the events of the TV series take place before Christ or take place after Crisis on
Okay.
Infinite Earths, which puts the TV series actually in the future. It would mean that season 1 started in what, like 2021 or something,
Yeah.
which would mean that currently when we're on season 5, it should be like 2026.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some murky timeline there that I don't know exactly lines up.
It seems like a really great show, to be honest, man. I should probably hop in that bandwagon and start watching it because if it's just got hopefully renewed for a sixth season, that sounds great. The show must be doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had pretty huge popularity when it went to Netflix, but oddly, Netflix bought the show to do a season 4 after it was officially cancelled, and I had petitioned to get it
Did
renewed,
you?
and it
Good man.
worked.
Good man.
Uh,
Love that.
so when Netflix made a season 4 of it, people expected all 4 seasons to go to Netflix, but it's actually still divided between Amazon Prime and Netflix. So Netflix actually only has season 4, despite it now being a Netflix original series.
That sounds great, man. Honestly, is there any other news stories you wanted to mention, mate? Because we've
I
got
mean,
a few others. We've got a
anything
few
from
others
your
here.
list?
What is it? Sorry.
I had nothing myself to bring up.
No worries. I'm trying to think of anything. There is a few topics I suppose we could cover, but I don't know if I have enough to say about them.
Well, what one that we have done here is the Percy Jackson series headed to Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I believe we both watched the Logan Lerman films, right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I enjoyed them for what they were, but apparently they're quite disappointing to Percy Jackson fans. Apparently they're quite underwhelming and inaccurate. So I definitely know some fans of the novels that will be appreciative of a more accurate portrayal.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I actually really enjoyed the Logan Lerman films, and I suppose they were some of the films that sort of launched Alexandra Daddario's career somewhat as well. And
Yeah.
they were good films for the time as well. And I actually never read the books personally. Did you?
No, I never really got. I've never really been into fantasy, so I definitely haven't read the novels. But I suppose they're more coming of age, young person novels. So I think that's where the appeal is for most people. So I'm looking forward to this show, and I would definitely watch it. Would you?
Absolutely, man, and it just gives further strength and quality to Disney Plus as well, just varying their different shows and platform whatever. And I think is it going to be recast? Yeah,
I mean, yeah. Like they're
yeah.
they're not going to be showing like 20 something Logan Lerman when people were already complaining about the fact that he wasn't 14.
Is that how old Percy Jackson's supposed to be? I thought
Percy Jackson's meant to be like 14 because they're meant to be basically like summer camp age. Like they're meant to be in uh
middle school
I guess
still.
junior high school.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting as well, and like it's got a lot of potential. As I said, I haven't read the book, so I think I'd probably enjoy the Logan Lerman film was probably a bit less if I had read the books, but hopefully the new show or movie or whatever it is on Disney Plus is successful because I actually I want to wish that platform all the best because it's doing great things in it, man. And I suppose speaking of movie news and new releases, there was a new Tenet, a new trailer for Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Did you see it?
I did not.
Okay, I did see it, but I'll not give anything away. And I saw a lot of people. I think you'd maybe mentioned this to me off the podcast about people saying it might have been a sequel to Inception.
I did not say that. I have no memory of that.
Okay. Well, apparently a lot of people had pointed out that a lot of the same cast were present in both the Inception film and this film. And I suppose that is because Christopher Nolan likes to reuse actors that he's worked with previously in a similar vein to Quentin Tarantino. But it's going to be interesting to see. It seems like a really interesting plot. I don't think it is a sequel to Inception, but Christopher Nolan, always gets good credit for his films and stuff. Even though you may disagree on the Dark Knight trilogy somewhat, but it's going to be interesting. Like, what is your favorite film of his that you have seen? Speaking of Christopher Nolan,
I think I have only seen the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't think I've seen anything beyond those. But the one that if I had to sit down and watch one right now that I haven't seen, it would be Memento because I think that's the one that I have the most interest for. Have you seen anything aside from the Dark Knight films?
no. Oh, Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's
It
fantastic.
looks incredibly dull.
There are parts of it that are dull, granted, yeah. But I'd like to see Dunkirk as well, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but I think that Christopher Nolan's films are probably best served when you know nothing about them.
Good point.
That's why there's no plot released for this film. So I didn't want to also see any visuals. I want to go in completely fresh and completely surprised.
Sure. Yeah, he's one of those directors where maybe not. It's best to keep away from the marketing as well because um I just think he's such a creative director, and he's quite young, I think, as well still. So he's still got a really great career ahead of him.
Yeah,
I don't think has he won a Best Picture yet.
not to my knowledge.
Wow, it's only a matter of time for him, I think, because he's a fantastic director. I think he really is the next Tarantino. I'm trying to think, is there any
Is
other?
that a positive thing?
I don't know. It depends if Tarantino is your taste or not. I've only seen one of his films, so I can't say.
Well,
But
what one have you seen?
seen Django Unchained, and I loved it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We will definitely cover the Quentin
Oh yeah.
Tarantino films because I have yet to see any, but I know there's some pretty mixed opinions on some of his more recent films.
Oh yeah, big time, man, big time. I'd love to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've yet to see it, but it looks good. And it's got Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio in it. So what more do you want? You don't like?
From what I've heard, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be for me.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. But trying to think if there are any other stories that you wanted to mention. We've got a few other ones here and there. So any ones that spring to mind for you, or did you want me to wrap up or anything, or I can edit this out.
You go ahead with whatever you want to speak about.
Um. Okay. Well, I suppose in a similar vein to this, there's been a new bit of movie news that's come out of the James Cameron world, and he has said that Avatar 2 has continued filming in Australia despite the coronavirus. But I just wanted to ask, like, what do you think we can expect from this sequel? Because I don't know if you've seen the first Avatar or not, but it seemed at the time, like, and even now, like, one of the staples of modern cinema. Like, obviously held the box office record for a number of years, over a decade. So what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I haven't seen the original, but I'm quite aware of its plot. So I think they've pretty much covered like humans versus the Na'vi. So I think that they're probably going to move to some sort of uh, extraterrestrial threat.
Cool. I like
I
that.
think it'll probably be maybe sort of a tribal clash, or it is Pandora, like, is it a planet, like, are there other planets surrounding it?
I think there are other planets surrounding it, yeah. So I think extraterrestrial is definitely a really good possibility, man. That sounds really interesting. And like you said perfectly, like they've already covered the Na'vi versus the humans, so it would be cool for a potential team up there or something, or fighting a common threat, like you said. So that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't have much further to say on that because honestly, I'm just not familiar
Fair enough. No, I
really with
understand that.
Avatar.
Yeah.
But I imagine if it has Sam Worthington in it, it's probably got a 50-50 chance of being good.
You know what? I rewatched it 2 days ago, and he's actually maybe yesterday, and he's actually great in that. I really like him in that. It's probably one of his better performances I've seen. It's one of those films where I think it's quite underrated. I do quite enjoy it. The
I
effects
mean,
still hold up.
as you said, it is the second highest performing film of all time. But yeah, how did it make that money? Because I don't think it didn't get glowing reviews. So I don't really know where the audience came from on that.
Yeah, I had heard. I can't remember who told me this, but apparently, like, China absolutely loved it. Apparently, that market just completely just fell in love with the film. So
Yeah, I think that widely that audience does appreciate sort of extraterrestrial stuff because
sure.
there's nothing negative directed towards them. If there's any negative references to China, they usually won't play the film.
Yeah.
Or if there's excessive violence or swearing, like with the Deadpool movies. So yeah, I think that probably did have quite a broad appeal in those territories.
Yeah, man, that's a great point. That's a great point. I'm trying to think. Is that all the news stories, or I can edit this bit out if needs be. I think that's us. There's stuff here about like Joe Rogan and Spotify, but did you want to mention that or not really?
I honestly could say nothing about that.
Okay, do you want me to wrap up then, brother?
Yeah, sure.
No worries. Well, yeah, that's going to conclude our sort of news roundup episode for today. It was more of an informal chat, like we said, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Callum, thanks for recording with me, mate. It was great to see you. You made some fantastic points in there, really interesting. And
Good to see you, mate.
little nod. And yeah, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on these topics down below. And yeah, stay tuned for later on this week when we're covering Pixar Part 4. Yeah, so what films
Yeah.
are we going to talk about in there, mate?
We're going to be talking about Brave, Monsters University, and Inside Out. I have watched these films. It was quite a good time.
Yeah, for the movie mates, the reason why the podcast is not already out, guys, it is my bad. I completely forgot to watch them. So I will. We're recording Pixar Part 4 tomorrow, which is Friday. So hopefully should be out about Saturday or late Friday night, early Saturday morning, I would say. Yeah, hope you guys are keeping well. And I'm looking forward to cover that because there's some good movies in there, mate.
Yeah, the episode after that might be a bit grimmer. It's The Good Dinosaur finding Dory in Cars 3. So that might not be the best experience.
Good Dinosaur is the one that I'm most worried about in there,
Yeah, I hear, like, I think that's probably the lowest reviewed because I don't think there's anything interesting to grab your attention in that film. When you watched Cars 3 a week or so ago, did you make notes while you were watching it?
No, I didn't, mate. I'm gonna have to
Are
rewatch
you gonna have
it.
to go back retroactively, like just through like the Wikipedia? Like you do not need to
Yeah.
watch it again. I'm sure.
But no, looking forward to recording that one with you tomorrow, mate. And yeah, as I said, thanks to everyone who has subscribed, like, commented, all that good stuff. And yeah, and don't forget in the description down below all the petitions that we mentioned at the start of the podcast, regarding everything going on in the world at the minute. And yeah, stay safe, guys. Take care. See you later, Callum. See you later, guys, and bye bye.
Bye bye.